What was the purpose of that? What? And tell me something else. Now we're starting to see a lot of people getting indicted. What about people like Hillary, people like Barack Obama,
Yeah, and people like of course Adam Schiff
and
uh,
Adam Schiff? There's
yeah,
a whole bunch of them.
and
Like,
Nancy Pelosi. There's a problem, of course, with the statute of limitations on some of these folks. But you know what they did in California, and you know what they did in New York, was they passed a retroactive statute of limitations waiver. You know that they in New York they eliminated the statute of limitations just so they could charge Trump with something that happened in the '90s, right? But
really?
with this idiot woman at Bergdorf, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, who couldn't even remember what year she was allegedly raped by Donald Trump. And
Yeah,
I
rape,
don't know if you,
rape,
I
wait
don't
a
know if
minute,
you,
rape in a little cubby of a changing room.
yeah, and I don't know if you're familiar with Bergdorf in New York, but I mean,
No.
it's on both sides of Fifth Avenue.
Yeah.
On the west side of Fifth Avenue, it's got the ladies' part. On the right side of Fifth Avenue, it's got the men's part. Ask yourself, what in the world would Donald Trump be doing alone in the female half of Bergdorf in the '90s? Patty and I were talking about this yesterday. Think about this. You got this idiot woman, right, that wants to, claim that she was raped by Trump, even though years later she's posing with him in a photograph with a big smile on her face, right?
Yeah.
But I'm thinking she's sitting there, she's having lunch with one of her left wing extremist girlfriends. They're having some tea at the plaza, and they mention, hey, what year did surveillance cameras go in over at Bergdorf across the street?
Yeah.
And,
Never.
and they said, oh, 1995. Well, gee, I guess I must have been raped before then, right? But I can't remember exactly when.
There you go. And what's going to happen to that? What judge was that?
I can't remember what judge
I
that
can't
was.
remember either. But what happens to the judge there who
You
fixes it such that this is ridiculous stuff? And have you seen Leticia lately? Have you seen her? Now she's been indicted, and now she's out there hawking for this battle that somehow she became a victim of this. Donald Trump, and she's not giving up, and she's going to back Mandami,
Yeah.
Zohar.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh!
And
Now
doesn't she have like one niece that's on the lam right now that got charged with lying about a felony conviction to buy a gun, and another one that's on the lam for something else?
that's what I've seen. That's what I've heard. Yeah,
Yeah.
somewhere. I'm not sure about it, but what an individual this is! What a nut!
And then well, you sometimes I think our party is intentionally self-destructive.
Yeah.
There's 8,400,000 people in the city of New York, and they couldn't find anybody except Curtis Sliwa to run for mayor as a Republican. And Curtis is a nice guy, but I'll tell you a fun story about Curtis.
Yeah.
Patty and I are walking down Lexington Avenue about 2 years ago, exactly this time of the year. And Curtis is walking up the street on the sidewalk, coming the other direction with us. When he gets close, I say hi, shake his hand. They say, hey, Curtis, we need to get together. Can you give me your contact information? I give you a holler when I get back to St. Louis. So he gives me his card. I shake his hand. I said, hey, you're doing a hell of a job. I walk a block further, pull out the card, look at it. There's no phone number or email address on it.
Well, you got a big mouth, and you got to just, hey, come on, I got to talk to you.
And I thought he did a fine job last night, but they let him answer, about every 10th question.
Yeah, but they're going to lose.
Yeah.
I mean, and how do you lose to a Jew-hating guy in a Jewish city?
And Cuomo had the best comment last night of all, right? Here's Cuomo, right? He was director of HUD in the last, in the administration. He's been governor for 11 years and all this stuff. Yeah. And he says, here's this guy over here. He's got no resume. He's never had a job. It says on his resume, he interned for his mom. And that's his experience, right?
Yeah.
So you got this, 31-year-old, 33-year-old kid, never had a job, never has anything. But, he's raising money out the wazoo. He's 10 points ahead in the polls. And you're gonna elect in New York City this radical communist who has absolutely no talent, no ability, no record. But what he does have is the backing of those people that want to create a communist experiment in America's biggest city. mean, it's
He's
just
got more than
insanity.
that. He's got a likable likable way of speaking. Except, of course, when he talks about how evil the Jews are and how many Palestinians they killed after the war, when didn't happen to mention, the 10/7 problem and the Hamas shooting in the back of the heads the Palestinians who didn't agree with them. He didn't mention those things.
Yeah. And of course, the Israeli, the IDF doesn't occasionally commit political assassination either, but or at least Mossad. But both, it's bad stuff in both ways there. And
Wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. They were at war with these people, and they killed people. That's what happens in war.
Yeah, I know.
I know you don't like war.
That's why I don't like war. By the way, I was watching Newsmax this morning.
Yeah.
And they're talking about maybe giving Tomahawk missiles to Zelensky.
Yeah.
And all the commentators on Newsmax were actually giggling about the concept of giving Zelensky Tomahawk missiles so he could blow up things in Russia. When you blow up things in Russia, people die.
Oh, sure.
I mean, it's a horrible catastrophe there.